A lot of bad things happened to Meg Griffin. Instead of her heart, her date stole her kidney, and she even made out with a close family member. But let's start with the time she got erased from existence by God himself. The story starts off with Peter and the guys tailgating at a Patriots game. Naturally, it ends in a soul-crushing loss. Instead of shrugging it off like a normal person, Peter decides the only way to fix it is to go confront God. Why? Because in Peter's mind, clearly God is the one messing with his favorite football team.
Huh? Come on, don't you notice that whenever the Patriots lose, the other team always thanks God?
So the gang is off trekking across the globe trying to find God. They show up at churches, bother Carrie Underwood in Nashville, meet Kronos, the god of time in Greece, and get a gift. And even go to India, the most spiritual country in the world.
God is not here.
None of it works, and it's looking pretty hopeless until they get lucky. Back at the Drunken Clam, Death shows up and Peter takes his chance. Death agrees to take them straight to God's doorstep. In heaven, Peter cuts right to the chase. He wants God to stop interfering with the Patriots. God eventually admits he's been messing around, and he won't stop unless Peter and his friends can do something for him. Make Coach Belichick smile.
Look, it's not the fans. It's Belichick. I don't like him.
This, of course, leads to an entire segment where Peter tries everything from kidnapping children hid in Cleveland to overdubbing Animal Planet videos. They even resort to jokes about Joe's miserable condition.
Our friend Joe here has to have his fluids changed every 72 hours or else he swells up and his eyes turn yellow.
Eventually, Coach does crack a smile and God agrees to leave the Patriots alone. But Peter being Peter, he asks God for one more thing. Back at the Griffin's house, the entire family is sitting around when Lois asks Peter what exactly did he ask for when Meg starts fading away and the entire family just sits there barely acknowledging it.
Don't look at her. Don't look at her. It's okay. Just go with it. It'll all be over in a second.
Meg is gone, just like that. No tearful goodbyes, no heroic last-minute rescues, just fading into nothing while her family watches. If you think about it, I'm well aware all of us Family Guy fans are huge thinkers, big brains and all. This may be the darkest moment in show's history. So let's go to something lighter, like the time had her kidney stolen. Season 11, episode 12. Alright, so Meg finally finds a guy who actually seems into her, like genuinely interested. Sounds too good to be true? Well, of course it is. It's Family Guy, and it's Meg Griffin we're talking about here. This guy doesn't just ghost her after a nice date. No, he does something much worse. He takes a part of her in a pretty literal fashion. So it's Valentine's Day in Quahog, and Meg has somehow managed to land a date with a guy she met on the internet. Not shady at all. They go out and everything seems oddly normal. He even compliments her, which should have been the first red flag, honestly.
Wow, you look just like your picture.
You don't look anything like yours.
It's almost like the universe was telling Meg, hey, this is too good to be true. But Meg, ever the hopeless romantic, rolls with it. Over dinner, the two toast to their date. And then bam, next thing we know, Meg wakes up in a motel room disoriented and with a massive scar. The dude stole her kidney. And you'd think this is the part where Meg calls the cops or rushes to the hospital? Nope, it's Meg Griffin.
Wait! You also made a promise to me. You promised we'd spend Valentine's Day together. The whole day. And I'm not letting you break that promise.
She doesn't even get mad. Instead, she decides to guilt trip this guy into spending the rest of Valentine's Day with her, and somehow it works. The guy, who probably doesn't even know what empathy is, spends the rest of the day with her. They do all the cute, cheesy Valentine stuff. It's almost like it was a real date, except Meg's kidney is in a cooler somewhere. And at the end of the day, get this, he gives her back the kidney casually in a pretty box though.
Oh, Toby, I love it. Thank you. Oh, this has been the best Valentine's Day ever.
Meg ends up keeping her kidney in a room as a reminder of what was apparently the best date she's ever had. Okay, this one kinda has an happy ending, but think about it. Her best date involved her waking up in a motel, missing an organ, and then spending the day with the dude who stole it. If that's not the most Meg Griffin story ever, I don't know what is, except maybe for the time she was sold to Neil Goldman. If there's one thing Peter Griffin is good at, it's finding new ways to ruin Meg's life. This time, he didn't just embarrass her, he sold her, literally, to Neil Goldman. Yeah, the same guy who asks her out so much, she's got his rejections memorized. It all started at Goldman's pharmacy. Peter, ever the responsible adult, decides he needs condoms. Classic. Of course, he forgets his wallet. No problem though. Mort Goldman, Neil's dad, offers him a tab. Huge mistake. Peter runs wild with it, buying 8 crates of Ipecac for a vomiting contest. Because that's what you do when you're a father of 3.
All right, you guys, I got 8 crates of Ipecac from Mort, all on my tab. Now, whoever goes the longest without puking gets the last piece of pie in the fridge.
What followed was less contest and more biohazard. By the end, Chris is the only one left standing, and Peter owes Mort $34,000. Naturally, Peter doesn't have the money, so he does what any father would do. Offer his daughter his payment.
What if I sold you my daughter?
Huh?
You drop the tab, and your son can have Meg.
Meg's reaction? Rage. Pure, unfiltered rage. Lots of it.
Are you out of your mind? You can't sell me, you fat son of a
But it's too late. Peter's already signed the contract. Neil, being Neil, should have been thrilled. Instead, he pulls a plot twist. He's got a girlfriend now, Cecilia, who somehow finds Neil Psoriasis sexy. Meg is shocked. No, scratch that. Meg is jealous. And when Meg Griffin is jealous, she makes questionable decisions. She scrambles to find a boyfriend to make Neil jealous and settles for Jake Tucker, the kid with the upside down face who only agrees because she promises to buy him stuff. He's not a prince and he's not charming, but he's willing. But then in a move straight out of a bad rom-com, Meg decides she actually wants Neil. She signs the contract, officially becoming Neil's property. And that's when things really go off the rails. The Goldmans put her to work. Literal work. Plowing fields because apparently this is Quahog Gone with the Wind.
All right, Meg. According to the contract, every night you have to put on my pajamas. My mom's record is 12 seconds.
Things hit rock bottom when Meg, desperate to escape, turns to her family for help. Peter's solution? Dress Lois as Mystique from X-Men to seduce Neil at a fake convention. It's as weird as it sounds.
Well, look at this, Meg. Your boyfriend is violating both your contract and my wife.
Neil, being a teenage boy, falls for the bait. The contract is nullified, Meg is free, and Neil goes crawling back to Cecilia. All's well that ends well, except for Meg, who's left humiliated, jealous, and still single.
I can't believe I'm actually jealous.
I can't believe I actually touched him.
I still can't believe it's not butter.
It's one of those episodes that hilarious and horrifying at the same time. But for Meg, it's just another day in Quahog. Oh, and there was this other time when she got nearly killed by a school bully. If there's one thing Meg Griffin can count on, it's the universe piling on her misery. But this time, the universe decided to upgrade to Mike Pulaski, a human wrecking ball masquerading as a high school student. Meg had no idea she was walking into a death match when she accidentally spilled her lunch tray on him. Big mistake. Mike wasn't just angry, he was 3 p.m. Friday, meet me in the parking lot angry.
Chris, you have my back, right?
I don't know. Let me check. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna need it for the fight.
Meg panicked, naturally, who wouldn't? She tried everything to escape the fight. Begging her parents for a school transfer? Denied. Strategically getting expelled by releasing a sex tape? No dice. Even hiring the toughest jocks in school didn't work. Mike obliterated them without breaking a sweat. And her friends? They ditched her faster than Peter at a salad bar. With no allies left, Meg was ready to accept her fate. That's when Quagmire popped up in the girls' bathroom because of course. But hey, desperate times call for creepy measures. Quagmire had one goal. Turn Meg into a weapon of biological warfare.
All right, Meg, the best way for you to focus your rage is if I wear the mask of the person who's bullied you every day of your life.
Fight day arrived and the parking lot was packed.
All right, Meg, remember what I taught you.
Relax my throat and make eye contact?
No, the fighting stuff.
Students weren't just expecting a fight, they were expecting a public execution. Mike didn't hold back, beating Meg to a pulp while the crowd cheered and cringed. That's when Meg turned the tide. She kissed Mike, sending him into a full-blown panic. Then she popped a zit right in his face. It was as horrifying as it sounds. And just when he thought it couldn't get worse, she delivered the final blow, flashing him. Mike crumbled, not because of the punches, but because his psyche couldn't handle Meg's grossness. The crowd went wild, and for once, Meg walked away the victor.
But I wasn't around for a long time. A year later, my body reacted to a frozen hot dog, and I died of septic shock.
Popping a zit in someone's face is pretty disgusting, but that's until you remember the time Meg accidentally made out with her brother. Halloween is supposed to be a magical time. Candy, costumes, and a maybe little awkward teenage flirting. But leave it to the Griffins to take things straight into therapy territory. Meg, decked out as a slutty cat, was on her way to her first high school party, buzzing with hopes of finally scoring a smidge of popularity. Meanwhile, Chris, after being vetoed on his wildly inappropriate Bill Cosby costume, settled for a generic outfit and also found his way to the same party. What could go wrong? Oh, just a little game of spin the bottle. The party was in full swing, with students laughing, drinking, and being obnoxiously loud. Meg, still masked, was chosen to spin.
Oh my god, this is totally working! Nobody knows who we are!
Optimus Prime, also masked, was the lucky target. Into the closet they went for the game's classic 7 minutes in heaven. What followed should have been a teenage rite of passage, but instead it became a nightmare. Passionate kissing, an accidental grope, and muffled giggling turned into mortified screams when the closet door swung open.
Chris?
Meg?
Cue the gagging, panicking, and existential regret.
I didn't know it was you!
Well, who did you think it was?
Who cares?
Oh my god! Oh, we did so much!
As the rest of the party dissolved into hysterical laughter, the realization set in. Not only had they made out, but now everyone at school knew. There was no coming back from this.
Brian, why are you pink?
Why do you and Meg smell like sweat and shame?
Meg, who just wanted one night of normalcy, ended up with a chapter from her personal horror story. Chris? Well, he probably blocked the whole thing out with a box of donuts. But for viewers, it was just another episode of Family Guy pushing the envelope, and Meg taking the hit. Meg Griffin's life is basically Murphy's Law with a laugh track, but we sure do love watching her suffer. If you enjoyed her disasters, you need to check out this video here.